coming in downstairs, but thank you all for technology in our schools. I know that it's a somewhat behind the scenes and thankless job, but what you do keeps all of our schools running. So every day we were able to do what we do because you all are behind the scenes doing what you do. So welcome. Thank you all so much from me, the staff of Collegiate, but also on behalf of all the other head of school as well. So thank you guys for doing what you do. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think the highlight of our meeting today is going to be Scott's presentation on esports, which is kind of a growing trend, and I'm starting to see a lot more on forums and things like that about it. So that's to learn their experience. But we'll kind of go through our business part, which there's not a lot to really cover. If you're new or you haven't attended, please fill out the attendance process. I actually am going to full disclosure, went in and saw that none of ours was updated for this whole year, even though I went back, I was like, surely I did. And I started, but then it didn't save, or I don't know what happened. But, so check that out, make sure that your school's current. All the staff's represented from your school that should be kind of receiving our notifications, being part of our forum. You know, we're stronger with the more voices that we have represented on there, both from the back of the house and, you know, teacher forward positions. So, so take a moment to update that if it needs to be updated. We won't have any introductions today, but we can go ahead and check the minutes and approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And Lena, who gives our treasurer's report.
We had 2 schools who paid since the last meeting. It was Bodine and Harding. And so one of those was done with Cheddar Up. So that seems to be working really well. That's very easy, streamlined. You just mark withdrawal funds and it goes straight to the checking account. So that's super easy. And then I think this is the largest list of paid schools we've had since I've been keeping record of it. So it's a really good year for membership.
So that cut them off if they don't pay things. I mean, seriously.
And if, I don't know when Bodine and Harding came in, but they're still active on the list, right? Well, I know Bodine, right? So we're good?
Yeah, I
just
think
want
they
to
are.
make sure that they're,
I'll check.
and I think next year, you know, with this new process, we'll probably do what I did, or the next president, John, will send an email to all the heads, re-inviting, re-announcing, because that seemed to get a lot of, you know, at least a little bit of traction and more turnout. Old business is the preferred vendor survey and the MAIS TEC approved vendor list. Go in there, again, the more voices, the more input we have, the stronger that list becomes. And that links, and you should be able to access it, and if you can't, please let me know.
And Justin, I want to give a plug for that Atlas list. If you're not on that Atlas list, I mean, y'all, they talk about stuff that we deal with every day. And I mean, it's great stuff on there about hardware, stuff about curricular stuff. I mean, and then there's job descriptions. If you've ever needed a job description, you know, it's really, really good. And it's been
Peter,
up there.
Peter, Amanda has collected this, and he shares it with anybody who asks, and it has a bazillion job descriptions in there from like.
But it is
forever.
So good. They talk about digital citizenship. I mean, everything you can think of. And it's, you know, it's not, I mean, we're great ourselves just locally, but this is people, independent schools all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, there's international schools, and you'll see some of the same people come in a lot, but they've got lots of years experience, and it's just great to get different perspectives because, you know, once again, we've all known each other for a long time here, but to get people's ideas, I've been very pleased with that listserv.
Yeah.
Are you going to try to go to the conference? Because it's really
Atlas,
good.
yeah.
Who's going to Atlas this year?
Yeah, Arthur's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going.
Yeah, it's a great conference, and it has stuff for both sides of the house. It leads a little more towards, you know, tech director stuff, but that listserv, I mean, I use it all the time, and no matter what you put out there, you get at least, you know, a good, healthy amount of responses.
And they archive it.
And they are
So you can go back and search for a topic and see, because, you know, sometimes, I mean, y'all, you have to understand it's a national listserv, so there may be 50 responses on a topic where, you know, we might get one or two. So you can go through and weed through all those responses, and it's great. I mean, they've got it archived all the way back for years and years of comments.
Where's that one?
Do you have it linked up there?
I had it on the last, I know I put it up there at one point, but somehow it's not on this, but I can get it on there, or if you go to theatlas.org, and then, I don't know, it's up there, it says like listserv, it's one of their links, but we'll get it on here so everybody has access
It's
to it.
really good. I
It's
highly
great.
recommend it.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it before, but I just have seen the last couple of months, there've been some really, really good topics we've talked about on there.
Yeah, like we're evaluating our cell phone policy right now, and I put that out
Yep.
there, and I got like at least 15 different schools' policies that I could then say, okay, here's kind of what seems to be the standard, and so now we can at least look at what we're doing and compare it, and at least make a more informed decision on kind of where we're going and where we're moving.
I mean, like just today, there's a whole big thing that just popped up yesterday about a cashless campus. And I mean, there's all these schools that have done it. I mean, so you don't have to, and they give you great resources. You name it, the topics are out there, and it's good, healthy discussion, Mac and PC, and Chromebook, but it's all three platforms.
Last, we have, I don't have any new business unless anyone else has something to kind of throw up there. Meeting dates, our last meeting is April 3rd. That will be our voting for next year's slate of our leadership. I still have not landed on anything for a field trip. If anyone has a last minute kind of idea, we can throw something together for May. More than happy to kind of coordinate it if anybody has a great idea. I just haven't been able to come up with something. We toured one location that just didn't seem really viable or beneficial.
There was an article in the Daily Memphian not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I should have sent it to you, but I'm sure you can find it, about FedEx apparently has some innovation thing or whatever, and they had some kids out there.
My brother's in charge of it.
Talking about they had drones, and it might be worth exploring it to see if we could go there.
Yeah, my brother's in charge of the parts of that whole new area. They've got a whole new media area and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's amazing the stuff they've got out there.
There were kids out there, and they had a big article about it in the Daily Memphian, and I mean,
They're building one in London also. They're building the exact same thing in London. Yeah.
Well, Lynn, we'll talk to you, and I'll get with you, and we can see.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be a possibility.
Okay.
Conferences that are coming up, kind of cleaned up the list, we, just for the ones that are kind of going forward. There's Lausanne Learning, coming up in, well, today, yesterday, today. And then there's another one in March. Atlas is in Chicago. ISTE, TITA, and the TETC. Anything else that anyone, if you have one to add, go ahead and feel free to start populating that list, even if it goes into next year.
I didn't hot link TTC because they have not taken down the 2019 one yet. They wait till usually the spring, but those are the correct dates for sure. But they don't have the information up yet for hotels and keynotes and all that.
Moving on to committees, we have the nominating committee update. John?
Yep. So we met on the 27th, a couple of weeks ago, and just reviewed the process, how it all works and the timeline. We reviewed the bylaws and all that, and we got to work. So by the way, it's you see the names, it's Jane. I want to thank Jane Manus and Amy Smythe for helping with that this year. And so we got on the phone and emailing and twisting arms like we do. And so we are prepared to announce the slate of officers that the nominating committee is recommending for next year. It would be for president-elect, because that's the new position that we elect now. We don't have the vice president role anymore. So Brian Beretta from Bodine has agreed to run for president-elect. Amy Smythe has agreed to run for the secretary job. Sarah has done it for several years and just said she, if we could find someone else that she would like to step down from that role. And so we appreciate her. And then Lena has agreed to stay on and run again as treasurer. That's one of those things, when you get that set up, I mean, it's just, it kind of just runs. So those are the slate. That's the slate that we'll be voting on in April. of course, you know, you can, if you want to run, like to run. Have we ever had a competitive race? Anybody remember? But you could put your name in nomination from the floor in April, and then we'll have that, our election in April. So that's the slate: Brian Beretta, Amy Smythe, and Lena Collins. And of course, the president-elect role, it automatically moves into president role. So there's no election for president. I mean, that was, y'all elected me last year. And then Justin will roll off and be the past president.
Whitney is gonna speak to the social committee.
We haven't met. I don't know who's on my committee. Is it still Kim Moon? Okay. Does anyone have any suggestions? Would we like to do the same thing as last year? Or do we want to move it to the fall and have something in the fall? Suggestion. Last year, by the way, we had it at Salsa. We had a lovely dinner, and it was very well attended. I mean, we had like 15 people. So,
That's great.
It was good.
It's a simple location. I mean, we don't.
we'd like to have a repeat performance in August, and I just sent out the date. I mean, April, not August. That
Yeah,
work?
that sounds great.
Okay.
Did you say you do have a day, or just?
I don't. Does anybody have, do we like Thursdays? I think it was Thursday last year.
We're talking about in April.
A Thursday in April? Okay.
Propose something.
I'll send something to everybody. My calendar. And then Easter is one of those weekends, and
Easter's the
Right.
12th.
9th or right in there, yeah.
That Thursday.
would you like the 16th?
Katie has an event that night, but that's just a couple of us.
We have 23rd.
Sounds good. Let's take it.
There you go.
I like it.
Good. Put it on our calendars.
All right, April 23rd, save the date, and more info to follow. And come hungry. Bring friends.
Not too many friends.
Actually, though, it wasn't that expensive. It was like $245 or something is all that it was.
For 15 people. I mean, it was very, we had fajitas and chips and dips and quesadillas and margaritas. It was very nice.
Is that Ridgeway and Poplar?
It's Richmond
Yes.
Poplar Regalia. I would
About
behind
a
Chris
hall.
in that little shopping center. All right, and the start time was 5, I think, last year. Does that work for everyone?
I have a workshop till 5, but I'll just be late.
Well, let's start at 5 and then everybody trickle in by 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were there for a
5 will be
while.
We were there until about 7:30.
Yeah, we were there for a while last time.
Just talking.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Great.
Well, that is all the business that I have slated. Next meeting is April 4th at St. Mary's Fiscal. And I'll send out directions and where we'll be meeting. We'll be meeting in our new Athletic and Wellness Center, in our private dining room in that location. And we'll do a tour as well of the building so y'all can see it. So, yeah, it's pretty. So do I have a motion to adjourn, and then we'll go into Scott's presentation?
Motion.
Great.
All right, good morning, everybody. We're gonna stand up.
Yeah.
I always hated that when people would say, okay, we're gonna stand up, we're all gonna face our neighbor and say hello. I'm sorry I missed the last opportunity to talk about esports. And just as Justin said, esports is a hot topic. I think as a nerdy teacher, back in my SCS, MCS days, I was even thinking, man, it'd be great because I'm a 52 going on 53-year-old gamer myself. Now, I'm not a console gamer, I'm an old school PC gamer. And as bad as it sounds, I love first-person shooters. I mean, it's terrible to say. I enjoyed that game, John. You know, and you know, if you're starting to get into this, you might as well be open about your addictions in what genre of gaming you're into, because this is all about digital gaming, PC gaming, console gaming. Now, I will say this, I always thought about this stuff, and I knew there was a connection, a bridge between gaming and making money. You know, we'd always heard about that, because years ago people started interviewing students who became coders, and then, you know, not even graduating from high school, but were able to code games, and then started working for companies as beta testers for games. And all of a sudden, parents who said, "You're not going to make any money. You're not going to do anything with your life if all you do is play Xbox games or PS4 games." All of a sudden, they were making money. You know, those were anomalies. But then, colleges were looking at esports as something viable. I mean, because people were making money off of it. So then colleges got into competitive esports. And all of a sudden, colleges started looking to high schools, because that's where the next generation of their esport champion would be. And then, you know, I started thinking, man, as a high school kid in the 9th grade, you could be recruited. I mean, legitimately, the University of so-and-so that just started up their program could be looking at you, 9th grader, as a potential and monitoring your stats online to see how well you do. So I started to see this pipeline of money for scholarships. And there was, I mean, to the point right now that colleges have so much scholarship money that it's just going out because they can't find the next gamer, because that gamer is already picked off by another university, or she has been picked off by a gaming company to be a beta tester, or even not even a gaming company, just a company that makes devices, headsets, mice, keyboards. They're saying, we want this person as the next face of blah, blah, blah. So, you know, at Crosstown, because we really don't have any restrictions, we're very much, you know, as a group of students, what do you all want to do? You know, we don't have a band, traditional band, because none of our students said we want band. But they did say we want jazz. So we brought in a jazz musician, and we have a jazz quartet, et cetera, et cetera. So we said, you know, what about esports? And then here's my sharing of our journey through esports. Now, I am going to put a preface. I'm just a beginner. You know, I am you. If you have questions, or if you're just like, well, we do have some students that are gaming, but is it a league or is it a gaming club? That's a totally different venue, gaming club versus esports gaming league. And we'll talk about that as well. And if you have questions, feel free to say, hey, I didn't understand anything you said. I am interested because it sounds cool. Can you come talk to me a little more? Or do you know someone that's smarter than you? Yes. I've amassed quite a few people who are much smarter than me in terms of esports, because they got started 2-3 years ago. And I will say this, every conference that I've been to and raised my hand and said, you know, it'd be great if you did an esports. All of a sudden, I've got 5 people in the room who are like, we want to hear that too. Or someone will be in the back laughing because he or she has just been on the road at other conferences as a speaker of their esports program at their school.
At TTC, Scott, they had a session that was a quasi thing, and there were like 45 tech directors from across Tennessee who came to that session.
Exactly.
So it's a hot topic for sure.
It is the next hot ed tech buzzword, really. All right, so I just want you to, it's a 5-minute clip, but I think it's
Turning video games and playing video games into a scholarship to a nice college was not a thing about 5 to 10 years ago. I used to not think I could do anything with video games. It's more of a casual thing to do with friends, it's a social experience. And nowadays, it's something I can compete for. It's something that I can get scholarship money for, and I take it a lot more seriously. Got it?
scholarships, and it's more than 3 times the amount offered to esports competitors in 2015.
Esports is competitive video game play. When I started as a guidance counselor about 14 years ago, I did not think that there would ever be a time where I would be a sponsor of an esports program that would be competing for scholarships at the college level. It's just unbelievable. Still hard to believe. We'll go U4 then, right? Playing tech. So let's match up. I take students to colleges all the time. When I found out on one of those college visits with students that there was a program in Missouri that offered scholarships for students playing esports, I thought it was a no-brainer. We should at the high school level have a way of allowing them to develop their skills so they can be successful and earn those scholarships. I already knew a lot of students that were interested in competitive gaming. It was just a matter of me finding them and bringing them together and seeing how they wanted to run it.
I'm Jeremy Murray. I'm a senior at Francis South Central, and I'm captain of the Overwatch team. Video games are a complex thing. These sorts of games like Overwatch, League of Legends, Super Smash Brothers, CSGO, Rainbow Six, these all have complicated mechanics. They all have team mechanics, and it's just like any other traditional sport. These are games designed with rules and ways of winning and ways of losing. You usually have a main tank at the front with a shield because, you gotta be able to protect your team. So
I allow the students to take on a lot of leadership roles. I could not be a coach for them because I just don't have the level of game knowledge that they have. We have a lot of students that don't fit in other programs here at school, that are not athletic students by nature, but they know video games. For some of these students to have an opportunity to go to a 4-year college and maybe get a $4,000 or $10,000 scholarship, just like any student who is playing baseball or basketball or football. We have some of these students that really benefit from.
Last year, students at Francis Howell Central High School formed the school's first esports team. 6 students on that team were offered nearly $400,000 in scholarships to play at college. The rise in scholarship money is coinciding with the rise in high school competitions. Tournaments are often regional and ad hoc. The companies are vying for the right to host national leagues organized into conventional seasons.
Right now, a lot of the programs at the high school level are few and far between, but that is changing. That's changing very quickly. I know I was told a lot as a child growing up that video games are fun, but you need to focus on more important things. We're asking parents to commit to allow their kids to play video games at key times where we need them to practice and we need them to participate. So that is sometimes a hard sell. However, when I throw out about the scholarships that we've been offered in the past year, just in our first year, it helps convince a lot of people.
When I first heard about esports at the high school, I have to tell you, I personally was pretty excited, mostly because I had seen a great interview on Real Sports on HBO about a League of Legends tournament that had happened in Los Angeles, where they filled the entire stadium with people watching these people play. I kind of come to the realization that this is actually something big. It's not just kids down there wasting time. I guess I've become a little bit more of a sports dad in that I also force them to play sometimes because I kind of think that's like any sport. If you're going to be a basketball player, you want your son to go out and shoot free throws for a while. In this case, I need him to stay up on this if he's going to compete for a scholarship at a higher level.
Usually during the weekdays, I try to fit in at least an hour to 2 hour of practice per day. And then on the weekends, I grind it out with my fellow teammates, and we try to do about 4 to 5 hours a weekend. This is a commitment. This isn't something you just go home and you just play a video game for 12 hours and then you go to sleep. This is a practice. This is things that people show up to, and this is something that people want to do. It's just like any other sport, and it's just like any other type of work. It's something you have to grind to get good at. You can't just be good one day and be settled with it.
Now, as a caveat to that, I will say that counselor was absolutely correct. Little did he know that, he'd be over esports. I am a terrible Overwatch player. I'm a terrible Fortnite player because I just haven't played that much of gaming. But I'll tell you, starting up an esports league, as long as you've got someone who's willing to take the time to even grab onto it and say, let's get started, I can see that vision of what this can become. That's all you need. You don't have to be the person that is an avid gamer. That's what I'm really trying to say. You know, my role in our esports is hardware. I make sure and we'll talk about hardware in just a second. I make sure all the hardware is there. I make sure the network works. I make sure that there's chairs and seats and, you know, all those things that you don't think about that have to be there. Even a fan in the room. And we'll talk about why you need a fan in the room that you're playing. But all those things just add up to my role. I have knock on wood, luckily, we hired our new TV guy, TV, film, etc. And his background, he came from Carneyville High School, and his background was esports. He was helping to start up that esports program. And when I met him, I said, hey, do you know anything about, and he was like, I said, come on in, Robert. So Robert has been that faculty member that you have at your school that is a gamer who wants to spread this, who sees this vision along with you, because you will need other staff members. All right. This is the reality of the esports, and I'll tell you all of our pitfalls and mistakes and growth areas. Just know that this list is what, you know, the teacher-centric side is. It's going to be, you know, the boring student role building, shared responsibility. It is and can be a diverse opportunity for your students. I'm a girl dad. I have a daughter, so I'm all about girl empowerment, woman empowerment. You know, my mom started me off young in 1967 with me, you know, her letting me know that she runs the house, no matter what my dad said. He never got that. All right, so you know, and this is stuff you'll see all over the discussion boards. It does increase attendance because students come to school because they want to talk and they want to be there for the next practice. So you've got behavior issues going down with student attendance going up. And I put in big letters curriculum. I've got some curriculum. If you want it, email me. I got that curriculum because there was a school, a team member at FETC that was doing sessions, HSEL, was doing sessions at FETC year before last. And I was right there at the right time, and I met some people who had already put 2 years into this and actually developed a curriculum that's centered around gaming. And they did that because they were in a school where the students were a little bit of issues with their behavior, but all of a sudden gaming kind of opened that door to less of a behavior issue and more of a teamwork issue. So they developed a curriculum that kind of fed into learning to be a better student and a better gamer. But I'll share that with you. How did we get started with getting it up and running? We did an interest survey. We asked our students, I just spun up a Google form and said, you know, is there anybody that wants to play in our esports league? This is not a club. A club is just a group of kids who hang out after school and play the Nintendo Switch, and we still have that at our school. They'll come in and play Nintendo Switch, hook up to our big 70-inch TVs, and that's fine, we're cool with that, but then they leave. This is an actual commitment, a time commitment, and in that survey, I outlined those things. If you want a copy of that survey, email me, I'll send you that. You know, I'm a big proponent of, we're not islands, and sometimes in education we think, well, it's just us. No, reach out to everybody, and that, you know, listservs have been great throughout my tenure as an instructional technologist to see what everybody else, their issues are, their headaches and commonalities that we have. You'll find out who the students are. In this survey, you can find out what games to pick, because students would be very vocal in saying, well, I want to play this, I want to play this. And you'll go through a process of, no, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're not going to do this. And the way you find out what games he plays, you just get on the Google and, you know, search for what games are often games practiced and played for esports tournaments. And Overwatch, Rocket League, League of Legends, Smash Brothers, Fortnite. Those are the competitive games. So you have to steer your students who want to play just their favorite game into this. This is what we're going to do. Because again, we're not doing an we're not doing a gaming club. This is an actual team. When you play football, you don't get to go play with a soccer ball. You have to play and practice with a football. So, getting kids to understand. Now, in doing that, let's say that you do this interest survey, you may get 200 kids. Yes, I want to do it. That first meeting that you'll have with them, and you go back over these are the requirements. No, we're not playing this game. That 200, you'll see the core group whittle down to about 50 kids, and that's manageable. 30, 50 kids are manageable. I would not try to do, even in your larger schools, 100 kids. It's just, and again, as they come in and practice and take that time commitment seriously, you'll start seeing kids drop off because they really weren't interested anyways. They just wanted to come play games. And they thought that's what they'll do. Okay? Making sure that it's always student-centric, that you're offering up and making sure that students have a choice in all this. You will see changes. You'll see changes in gaming patterns. You'll see games that you thought were going to be cool that nobody's really interested in, and so you have to change it. We have students that even in practice, they'll say, well, can we do da-da-da? Can we do da-da-da? Because I like that game better. You can either throw it back out to the team that, hey, someone proposed that we do this game. What do you all think? And you'll get students who say, no, that's not a good game to play, and this is why, Mr. Holcomb, because it does this, this, and this. And so just making sure that students are involved, because if they're involved, there's the ownership. And you can back away from making sure the kids are up in front and being honest about their practice times, their commitment to all this. All right, my fun part is getting that environment ready. You do PC, console, room space, ventilation, internet. We did PC gaming rigs. Basically, Chris Jarrell, our executive director, said that's a great idea. Let's get 10 computers in. What do you think? I said 10's a great start. So I went to bestbuybusiness.com, found the least expensive gaming system that had a NVIDIA graphics card, RTX, which is their newest graphic cards, a year and a half ago. The graphics card, I would say, would probably be the most important element of picking out a computer system. It's not going to work, and I've talked to schools that do this. Schools that repurpose their computer lab, it's not going to work as a gaming lab. It's underpowered. And people will say, well, we're streaming this game, we're playing off of their blah, blah, blah. It's still not going to work well. And you're going to run into more headaches trying to repurpose an old computer lab versus just looking at purchasing new gaming computers. Now that right there in itself was always a bright red stop sign in the district that I used to be in. Anytime you mention the word gaming computer, everything stops. Because Joe and Susan Public, with tax monies, are not going to pay for a gaming computer. I talked to Dell HP back when I was in the district, and I said, can you create a computer that doesn't have the word gaming computer in it? Because I need it to be disguised as a computer with this graphics card that I need. And they were like, oh yeah, we got that. It's our CAD, our design. No, it doesn't work. They want to sell you a Quadro card, which won't work in gaming. And I know this sounds really technical and nerdy, but your video card really is an important part. It's kind of like the tires on your car. Nobody really thinks about it until the tire starts spinning. You're like, man, why are my tires spinning? Well, that video card and the RAM really set the tone for your game. And your kids will let you know up front that this just doesn't work. Okay? Because again, it's like, it's no different than if you go buy the cheapest volleyballs you can find for your volleyball team, and they just don't work. They lose air pressure or they're really slick. It just doesn't work. But yeah, I think that's the contentious part of getting vendors to understand that if they really want to get into esports, Dell, HP, etc., they can't sell school districts Alienware gaming systems. They've got to disguise it until Joe and Susan Public understands that esports, gaming equipment, gaming machines are viable esports scholarship opportunities. It just hasn't gotten there yet. So I went to Best Buy and just found the cheapest with that NVIDIA RTX 2070 graphics card in it, and ordered it, got it in, put all of it up in our AR VR lab that we had set up. And at that time we only had two computers, two HP computers. So took those out, put it in another part, and this became the new AR, VR, and gaming lab. So now you've got everything. You can do augmented reality, virtual reality, coding, everything inside this gaming lab. And it offered us the opportunity to not just do esports, but also increase our AR, VR power and abilities for students to do more programming. And you know, that kind of helped that space as well. Wireless access point. We have our wireless access point maybe 500 feet away from us. No. I've got to have another one put right in the same room that we're in. And you'll get to learn the word laggy or lag real quick. Not on wireless, but also on hardware. So that access point, and some people say, well, you shouldn't be using an access point, you should hardwire. We've been working well with that access point even 500 feet away. If I put one right underneath us, because I've only got 10 machines, that's fine. If you've got a lab with 30, 40, 50, probably hardwire. I just don't want to go back to that Ethernet running everywhere. I'm just spoiled by having an access point that is robust enough to feed 10 computers. Your gaming monitor makes a difference. Really look at those specs of 144 hertz. That's the refresh rate on the screen. You know, don't go by the 25-inch or take the 25-inch out of the library and put it there, because it's probably not going to work as well. And it's not that expensive. I think from Best Buy, the gaming monitor, $199. I mean, there are lots of deals out there. Even though it's a year old, it's still viable. But look for those fast refresh rates, and you know, I think one gaming company that I really enjoy because they're low end but they're inexpensive is AOC. It's just inexpensive, it's cheap, it lasts for a while. When I bought an AOC monitor 8 years ago, Best Buy, folks were like, oh, that's cheap, you know, you probably won't buy that, you want to buy Samsung. And I said, no, I think I'll gamble on this Chinese knockoff company called AOC. And it's still sitting in my office and I still play games on it. So, you know, don't believe the hype though. You gotta get a Samsung, you gotta get this. Just look at the cost point and what the refresh rates are on the screen. Gaming headset, you gotta have a headset because you do not want to hear everything that's happening. Okay? And inexpensive, business side, Amazon.com is my friend. I just bought some inexpensive headsets with mics. Don't go all out. I mean, there's lots of companies that will sell you the cream of the crop, but I'll tell you this, when they get excited and they got to go because you know their mom, dad are waiting, they'll take the headset off, put it down, the cord will be on their leg, and there goes that $10 headset, you know, which is great. It was just $10. Okay? So really don't spend a lot of money in the headset. Gaming keyboard and mouse. I'm using the same stuff that came with the computer. My kids hate it because they have bought their own at home, and I do allow students to bring their own gaming mouse, wireless gaming mouse. The inherent problem in that is, Mr. Holcomb, did you see my gaming mouse? And I don't know where your gaming mouse is. Someone might have picked it up. So we're looking at if our students do better in their tournaments, I promise them that we'll get new keyboards, we'll get new mice, and if you're really up there, win a few game tournaments, then we'll get new chairs. Because there are actually gaming chairs out there for $99. I'm not talking about the $300 chicken. Okay? Well-ventilated gaming room. Boys and girls in a small environment, and you all are educators. You know, noxious gases do emit. So you want to make sure you spin up a fan because it does get hot. You've got all those machines, and as soon as you're gaming, the NVIDIA graphics cards fans start whirling, the CPU fan starts whirling, and it does get a little more hot than usual in that gaming room versus just surfing the internet in a lab setting. So just an inexpensive fan that runs quiet, that's a great idea. We didn't understand that until 2-3 tournaments in. We were like, man, we gotta get a fan in here, okay? Seats and tables, here's the thing that students reminded me of. We have the existing seats in our lab. The problem was, they don't go up or down. When a student plays, there's a certain position that they enjoy being at, because at home, they're used to playing at a certain position, because they have a chair that goes up and down. We don't have that. So our students often complain that they have to, rearrange their body. And at first I was like, I'm not worried about you and your up and down body position. But then I have to take off my dad hat and say, well, they are athletes. This is a esports league. And if they sit at a certain position that helps them game better, I need to accommodate that. So we are looking at chairs that have, don't get chairs with wheels if you can avoid it. It's just a hassle because they're all over the gaming lab at the end. But if you can get stationary chairs that have the ability to go up and down, that really makes it easy. It's either the chair goes up and down or the table goes up and down. If you can get both, that's great as well. All right? And if you have any questions, just shout it out. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A as well. That if there's any burning questions. There are schools that I know, nerdy teachers like us that I know, that are like, we just built our own. That is great. We didn't have the time. I needed to get this stuff in place, like within a few weeks. So I went to Best Buy, bought some, and put it up. If you have the time and you want to really make this a cool STEM project, or just, you can actually buy bare bones systems real cheap. And I promise you, there are 3 or 4 people in your group that have built computers, that built it at home, and would love to show students how to build a computer. On a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the most difficult, I personally think building your own rig is about a 3. It's not that difficult. So yeah, I would encourage you if you want to save some money, and I say that with an asterisk because you really don't save that much money. Nowadays, it's a learning opportunity. It's teachable moments to build your own rig. But to be honest, you're not going to save tons of money building your own rig because there's so many gaming computers out there that they're in warehouses just sitting there for someone to buy and buy cheap. Okay? Because you can buy a gaming computer that was built 2 years ago, take the old graphics card out, put a new graphics card in, and you're ready to go. Okay? I've said all this, but what does our little makeshift thing look like? This glass window that we have that allows spectators to view what's going on is also our strategy board. We do have students who will write on that with markers, what to do, how to do it. The beauty of all this is I love watching students help each other. I do. It's like that teachable teacher moment when that light goes on and your heart's like, oh, because they'll come over, one student will be, and, they always blame the hardware. This mouse is trash. This keyboard is trash. The other students in the room are going, no, that's you. But it's not, there's this thing called being salty, and which is, just basically mean trash talking. We don't mind the saltiness, just don't be mean to each other. It's okay to be someone who really wants to push someone to understand that it's not the hardware, it's you, because you're not listening to the strategy. Because they're telling each other how to do things and what to do on that mic and headset. But the problem is, just like in anything that we do, people listen or choose not to listen. So they're working with each other to help each other learn to listen. Because before they even start, they're already talking about strategy. As they're playing, they're talking strategy. Move forward, go back. I need help, I need a medic, you'll hear all that happening. To me, that's teamwork. That's what we're trying to get them to understand that they're really good at doing. Because if you think about gaming in its purest form, when a gamer loses life, dies, whatever, they're waiting to respawn so they can do it again. And they've learned or not learned from the mistakes that they just made where they died, their character died. So they're learning all this and saying, if I went 5 steps forward and fell off, maybe I should do 4 steps forward and then go to the right. So students know that really well. So it's not like they can't process that. They're looking